Hi there, you're listening to the Estranged Heart podcast, and I'm your host, Kreed Revere. Welcome back to our returning listeners, and if this is your first time here, thank you for selecting this podcast to listen to. As we begin today's episode, I invite you to grab a cup of coffee or tea, settle in, and listen with an open heart. But first, the regular disclaimer. I am not a licensed therapist or counselor. Nothing within this podcast should be considered or taken as therapy. If you are in need of therapeutic support such as counseling, please seek out a therapist near you. Hi there. Today's episode came about from a post in my online support group, and it kind of took off. There were lots of comments, lots of questions, lots of input and comments. And I wanted to expand on this because if this is happening in my online support group, it happens with every one of my clients. I know it's happening out there to others who are not my clients and are not in my support groups, whether online or via Zoom. So I thought I would just put this out there and today's title is I Wonder If They Even Miss Me, a question every estranged parent asks. So let's get into that. I know it was a question I asked when I was estranged from my girls. And then the follow-up to that question was and is for most parents, if they miss us, then why is there not enough interest in trying to reconcile on some level? And I want to say that for parents, when you are in the middle of hurting and feeling a lot of pain from having been rejected by your children, um, and some folks define that as abandonment. I felt it as extreme rejection and a banishing from their lives. So I understand that pain. And I understand why, any human being who cares about someone else would wonder, do they miss me? And think about it on the context of, in the context of a romantic relationship, right? That ends. I think a lot of us wonder, do they ever miss me? Right? I miss them. Do they ever miss me? So parents tend to look at this in very black and white terms. If they miss me, they should come back. If they miss me, why not come back? It's that easy, right? You miss someone, you go back to them. And it is not that simple. It just is not. Our children today have much more awareness of their emotions. They have much more awareness of what healthy relationships look like. And I will be quite honest with you and tell you that by and large, most of us older parents did not grow up around healthy relationships or have healthy relationships demonstrated to us. If we did, it was on, the neighbors down the street when we went to see them, and we would spend, I don't know, anywhere from, an hour to maybe you spent the night and shared, they were like a second family to you, but you still were not there all the time. And so there were things that were being said and done that you weren't aware of. So I think that there is this belief, this very, shall I say, childlike stance. Again, the black and white. if you miss someone, then call them. If you miss someone, then go by their house. If you miss someone, then write a letter. If you miss, and that's not how this is. There's pain involved. Our children do not go no contact because they're doing it for to punish us. They're not doing it um, as an escape. They're not. I mean, there is pain involved, and when there's pain involved, it makes us a little less willing and able to just hop right back into the relationship. Okay. Um, for parents, I actually get, this is one of the things I want to talk to you about today is that on the parents' end of things, there are parents who have been estranged for a couple of years and they think, well, if my kid came back tomorrow, I don't know if I would want to reconcile. I mean, I've gone through so much pain. It's been so hard. I don't know if I could just welcome them back with open arms. Sound familiar? It's two sides of the same coin. So if you can not be anxious to invite folks back into your life, your own children, because they've caused you pain, do you think that that could be happening on the other side? That your children are not ready to rush back into a relationship with you because they miss you, because they might actually be in pain, and the thought of re-engaging in the relationship gives them anxiety and they can't sleep at night and they have fear about what happens if it just is a repeat of the same old, right? Parents wonder and get anxious about reconnecting and then having an estrangement happen again. I hear from some parents, I I don't gosh, it's going to be hard to when we do reconcile because I'm going to always be worried that they're going to estrange or go no contact again. Well, your kid is thinking the same thing. It's going to be hard to reconcile because if I do, they're going to just continue to do the same thing they've always done. So, it's not black and white. It's not that simple. So, let's talk about what is going on for the estranged adult child when we are when this is going on. So they miss us? Do they not miss us? I will tell you that every estranged adult child I have ever talked to, and let's also remember that I too have been an estranged adult child. The answer to that question is yes. Yes. They absolutely do miss their parents. What they don't miss is the constant chaos, the people pleasing, trying to please a parent, trying to do all the things to remain in relationship with the parent. That's what's not missed. But do they miss having their parents in their life? Yes. They want. I wanted my parent in my life, but I could not be in a place at that time in my life where I could just be with my mom and everything be okay because it wasn't. It was not okay. This is what the kids are saying. I want a relationship with my mom. I have kids that cry and sob because they miss their parent or parents. They want that relationship, but they want it in a healthy way. Again, going back to like a romantic relationship, we can love someone and not be able to have them in our life because the relationship is not healthy. And even if we love them, and even if we've made the choice to not have them in our life, we can still miss them. Okay. So the question then becomes, as most parents ask, okay, so they miss us. So why are they not coming back? Well, let's talk about it. Um, and I'll give you a list that I wrote in the post that was in my online support group. I'll give you I don't know, probably, let's see, 15 to 20 potential reasons. Um, they're weighing the risk involved in re-engaging in the relationship. Is there a risk to my mental health? How large of a risk am I making by re-engaging in the relationship? Maybe at some point when they were single, they didn't think it was much of a risk, but now they have children of their own, or they're married and now they feel it's a bigger risk because there are other people involved. Okay? Their pain is too raw or intense right now. Sometimes we have to take space from people so we can calm things down inside, minimize the anxiety, have some more peace in our life so we can think clearly. When we are in an agitated state of anxiety or anger and things like that, we are not thinking clearly. And sometimes we need to take space. Sometimes taking space can turn into years. Lots of things come into play with that. Maybe they need to separate from family and or a parent to figure out who they are without someone, i.e. the parent, telling them or otherwise inferring who they are. And we do this as parents without recognizing that's what we're doing. Um, when we tell someone, a kid comes home and says they're vegetarian, and we go, "No, you're not. You've always eaten meat. What are you talking about?" Well, you're telling them who they are, who you think they are, not who they think they are. Um, they no longer trust. And trust is a huge, huge, huge one. And trust oftentimes, well, it really comes into play with most any estrangement. They don't trust that their emotions are going to be cared for. But it really comes into play, especially with those who have had multiple estrangements. So they engage in the relationship and then something breaks it down, and then they take space, and then they re-engage in the relationship and something breaks down, and then they take space again. And so every time the cycle repeats, the trust is broken again and again and again. And I don't know about you, but it usually takes a long time for trust to be rebuilt. Um, Oftentimes, if kids come back before that trust has been rebuilt, it's out of a sense of feeling guilt or being shamed into returning and things like that, which are not, that does not help to build a solid and loving, healthy foundation for the relationship. Maybe they feel overwhelmed with their own life and responsibilities, jobs, a spouse, family of their own, that type of thing. Many estranged parents or older parents who have fewer things going on in life and or are retired. And so we've got a lot of time on our hands, or more time on our hands than generally our children do. And so while they're trying to sort through things, they're also having to go to work, to a full-time job and managing a spouse and managing children of their own and all of these things. So it takes more time generally on their end. Maybe they lack conflict resolution skills. And that can happen often. And when it does, I usually ask parents, how did you teach conflict resolution in your home? And most of them tell me, oh, it wasn't taught. We didn't talk about anything, right? And when I say that, I invite you to get curious about if you think you taught conflict resolution skills, I'd invite you to get curious about that and really look at it from the perspective of your child. Did you teach it or did you demand it? Did you, and when I say demand, meaning here's the conflict resolution, go to your room until you can change your attitude. That's not conflict resolution. So I invite some curiosity around that. Maybe they're stuck with their own stuff and they need some space to figure things out, right? For the love of all things holy, my goodness, we're all humans and life happens. Maybe they're in the middle of an existential crisis with their boyfriend or girlfriend and they're just trying to figure stuff out and they don't need mom chiming in, giving her advice and checking in every 10 minutes or 3 hours to make sure they're doing okay. And again, we're talking about adult children here, right? Um, Maybe they're free by not being in contact with us. Maybe they're free from certain familial responsibilities and they're enjoying that, right? Maybe maybe they've been responsible for caretaking of our emotions all of their life. Maybe they've been parentified by having to take care of younger children, their siblings in the household. Now I get it as a parent. I mean, I was a single parent. I totally parentified my children, especially my first because there were 7 years difference between the two of them and I needed her help to manage the youngest one. It doesn't change the fact that she was parentified, even if it was out of necessity. The fact remains that she was parentified, and when she was able to get out of that, she ran, right? So maybe they're like, whew, finally, I got some peace in my life. I don't have to care for other people. I don't have to take care of anybody but myself. And that feels really good when you've spent a number of years doing the opposite and being made to do it. It wasn't their choice to do it. And that's very important to remember in this choice. Did your child have a choice or was it an expectation that you had for them? Maybe they feel more peace in their life right now at their current moment. I'm not in contact with my parent or my parents, and I just have more peace in my life. And maybe that's what they need at this time in their life. Our lives are a journey, and we go through different times and not expectation experiences. And sometimes we're like, "Whew, I'm enjoying this right now." Right? Maybe they feel obligations and expectations that they wanted out from under. Kind of going back to the, familial responsibilities, but also, are you saving enough money? Have you signed up for your next college classes? Are you sure that's the girl you want to marry? Are you sure, is that really how you want to raise your kids? Like those kinds of things. People get like, they're like, I'm done hearing this. I want it to stop. Um, Maybe they feel exhausted from caretaking a parent's feelings and or responsibilities. Um, that's a big one, and one that I did not recognize that I had been doing because I was so wrapped up in my own hurts and pains. I didn't realize that that's what I was doing to my kid. Again, I didn't do it with an intent to harm her. It doesn't change the fact that I did. Um, Maybe they need more time to mature, explore life without being under the thumb of a parent, right? I see this often with parents who parentified the adult child when they were little, taking care of other people, and then the adult child gets out on their own and they're like, woohoo, I don't have to be under her thumb anymore. Um, Maybe they don't have enough life experience yet to understand the nuances that come with relationships and how to manage those. Maybe you have a kid who's in their early to mid 20s and they just haven't had enough, even in their late 20s and 30s, they haven't had the life experience that you have had, that we have had. And then finally, there's the power imbalance, right? Some of them feel the only way they can be who they want to be is to exit the family because they feel um, any obligation to a parent's dream or wish, um, would be disrespectful. So they're not able to stand up to you. This is the people pleaser adult children, right? They don't want to make waves because they had another sibling that made waves in the family and they're like, "Ooh, no, I'm not going there." Right? So those are the ones that just kind of silently go no contact and then it's, hard to re-engage at that point. But there's always that power differential. So that's always I feel like it's always playing in the background, to varying degrees. All right. So those are some of the things that I think are going on for the kid. So let's talk about what's going on for the parent. Couple different things. Spending way too much time in their head and not feeling the feels, so to speak. When we're up in our head, the cognitive things that we think and believe, we're like, oh my gosh, well, there's the black and white. They miss us, they should come back. Right? And again, for the love of all things holy, we have to get into our feelings. And now you may be saying, well, for God's sake, Creed, I am in my feelings and it sucks and I don't like it and I can't live there all the time. And so I have to get out of there and get into my head so I can disengage from the feelings. And what I am talking about is finding support that will allow you to feel safe enough to feel the feelings so that you can work through them instead of pushing them aside, poo pooing them, instead of fearing them so much so that you refuse to go into them, right? Those kinds of things. If you can't feel the feelings, and I am again here to tell you what you are feeling, there's stuff beneath those feelings. And most likely the things that are beneath the feelings have nothing to do with your kid. And they have everything to do with you and your past life experiences. Okay. The second thing I see is loneliness. And I can tell you there is a massive difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Okay. Um, and this is where I see parents um, act on habitual behaviors being the manager versus the consultant. So, in other words, well, if I can just control this situation, I don't have to sit in my uncomfortableness, anxiety, etc. And they use that as an escape from the feelings. Um, so they're saying what parents are saying is, if I can control this, well, come back to me. My gosh, if you miss me, then just come back to me. Then I don't have to face my stuff because then you're back and I get what I want and then everything's good, right? No. No. Not everything is good. Might be good for you, but it's not going to be good for the other person. So, the next piece, and this is the biggest piece, is they haven't done their own work. Or if they have done some of their work, they haven't gone far enough and healed some things. Because when healing takes place, true, deep inner healing, we are able to be patient. We're able to respect another person's decision, regardless of whether or not we like it. Period. End of story. That's how that works. If they have not worked through their own history and their own traumas, um, that is always standing in the way, which is causing anxiety, which is saying, I need you to come back. Like, come on, right? Why aren't you coming back? If you miss me, come back. I need you to come back. Right. And they're not understanding their own triggers, where they're coming from and why they even have them. So again, this is some deep work. This is oftentimes why I suggest therapy and working with a trauma therapist to be able to work through those things so that we can release this incessant need for things to go our way. It doesn't mean that you don't have these desires, right? It can mean that you miss your kid. It can mean that you want your kid come back. It can mean that you can still ask the question, I wonder if they miss me. But there's not this black and white thinking, well, love of all for the love of God, if they miss us, then why aren't they coming back? They just come back. When we heal, we begin to understand the nuances of relationships. We understand what creates a healthy relationship and what does not. But as long as we are sitting in our traumas, in our wounds, and being triggered left, right, and center, we're not able to see that because the only thing we can focus on is what is going to get us out of our pain. And therein lies the work. It's not in how to get out of the pain. It's how to move through the pain and transform it by healing it. So my final thought, and I posted this in my group as well, and I'll say this. In the end, we have our work to do. And when we have done that, we must wait with open and changed hearts to push them, guilt trip them, manipulate them, or to try to control them because we want to reconnect sooner rather than later will work against you. It'll work against us every single time. So if you haven't made curiosity your friend and you haven't made patience your friend, it's going to be really difficult to reconnect with your child. It's going to be really difficult to have healthy relationships, even if down the road, for some unknown reason, you do reconnect. If you don't have curiosity and patience are not things that you're just going to utilize to reconnect. It helps you to reconnect, but then it's the glue that will help the relationship remain intact down the road and be healthy and loving and nurturing and sustaining and all of those things. So I think I will leave it here for today. Again, um, our kids miss us. They do. They want relationships with us. They just have to be relationships that are healthy. So if you would like additional support around this or any other topic regarding estrangement or reconciliation with your adult child, please feel free to reach out to me, theestrangedheart@gmail.com. Again, theestrangedheart@gmail.com. And I am happy to work with you and help you to feel your feelings, understand where your kid's coming from, help you to learn curiosity and patience so that you can reconnect with your child one day. Until next time. This brings this episode to a close. I hope that this time together was time you feel well spent and that you are able to find some takeaway nuggets to help you on your journey, wherever you may be on your estrangement and reconciliation path. If you feel you've received something helpful or positive from this podcast, please consider following us, sharing this podcast with others, leaving a positive review, perhaps entertaining becoming a guest on our show, or following us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok under the same name, The Estranged Heart. As a reminder, there is an online support group on Facebook. If you are a estranged mom who identifies as being spiritual and approaches estrangement with a sense of curiosity rather than blame and judgment, and desire to do inner self-work and reflection, please seek us out. We can be found at facebook.com/estranged mothers support group. And lastly, if you are an estranged parent or an estranged adult child and would like to have your story shared on the podcast, anonymously or not, please reach out to me via email at theestrangedheart@gmail.com.